Do you believe in magic? In a Packer fan's heart, when they get three interceptions, you hope it's only a start and it's magic. If Old Man Rogers plays loosely, it makes you feel happy. You think they can really do this. I'll tell you about the magic, it'll free your soul. But it's like trying to tell the Vikings how to win a Super Bowl.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Amateur Hour Podcast, episode 17. Gosh, that is just tragic to hear. In a normal NFL season, this would be the last week. But recently, Lord Roger Goodell added another week in the NFL season. So thank you, Roger, my sweet, sweet prince. We welcome on our very special guest, long overdue, Amanda Wiedemeier. Welcome on, Amanda.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I mean, obviously, big fan of the podcast. Always wanted to do this, whole season, be on here. I was, excited to kind of come on and talk about football with you guys. Super fun. You have a lot of fans, in the Wiedemeier household. My dad really loves the podcast. He listens actually,
Wow.
especially the episode with the toe and all that. So yeah,
Hey, we
it's
were
kind of cool.
just, Carla was just telling me, she's like, I was thinking back when Amanda and Kurt came, and she said, now if you ever come, you have to bring Kurt. It's a requirement.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'll bring Kurt. I should have brought Kurt on this podcast today. He would have loved it. Oh my gosh. So fun.
Because, yeah, for people that don't know Amanda's dad, he is a blast and a half, and he's, how old is he, 58?
No, like 55, 54
55?
maybe.
I mean,
Yeah.
he'll hang out with you at the bars till like 2:30 in the morning. I mean, it's incredible. And just like, I mean, the guy, so he's out till 2 a.m. drinking those shitty Long Islands that are just all alcohol.
Oh, my
And then he
God.
sleeps he sleeps on an air mattress that deflates. And then when he gets up to piss at night, like busts his toenail. And then we're walking all over Green Bay the next morning. It's cold as hell out, and he still has the time of his life. He just
Yeah. And the
is could
Cowboys
not believe how much fun.
lost.
I know,
The
yeah, and
Cowboys lost, but
he's
he saw
just like a
Lambeau
great
Field.
energy.
Yeah.
Those
So
those are
very
the
cool.
kind of guys you love to party with. Just the guys that they're yes men. They don't complain, they don't bitch. They're
Yeah.
just down to party. And Amanda, you're one of those people. You're always down to party, always down for a good time. So we're happy to have you on to celebrate your victory. I don't think I even said that you caught the W this week in week
Dominated.
16. So congratulations on the dominant victory.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
How were you feeling going into the week? Did you think this would be a 13? So 13 out of 16 is extremely hard to do. Did you think that was
Jeez.
going to be happen this week?
Absolutely not at all. So I kind of changed up how I approach my picks this week, actually, for the first time ever. Normally, in previous seasons, I would go in and I would pick the Thursday night game and that was it. And then I would miss all the rest of the games. You guys know that I did that. So now I go in and I know I'm going to pick the Thursday night game, but I just pick all of them as well. I kind of do it without thinking. And then I go back and I go change my picks. Well, I'm at work this past Thursday and the game's about to start. And I'm like, oh, great. So got to put my picks in. And I picked everything. My technicians are kind of like watching me. I'm like, guys, don't bother me. I got to put these picks in real quick. So I took that approach. And then I decided that I'm not going to change a single pick like come game time. Because normally I would go in and, at noon on the noon games, I would change the picks. At 3 o'clock, I would change the picks. But I decided I'm just going to stick with my original thought. And that was the first time I've done it all season. So I'm going to do it the next couple of weeks and we'll see. So
Well,
Did
good
you
for you.
pick with
Yeah.
your heart?
I definitely picked with my heart. Yeah, I definitely just kind of went through the games and I'm like, this makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense. But I didn't go back and change anything. And I always go back and change stuff. So
That's the Max Pilkerton mindset, is to just go with your gut. Don't spend too much time on it. Don't think too much hard about it and just pick. Um, it's kind of the polar opposite of what Bo does, where he looks into it and does a lot of research and stuff.
Very
And
analytical.
I'm always favoring just picking with your heart and picking with your gut. But obviously that's why I haven't been very successful, and that's why it took 16 weeks for you to get on this podcast, Amanda. But like I said, I always favor picking with the heart and with the gut. So congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, congrats. Just a quick shout out to Michael Harvey got second, Max Pilkerton got third, based on the tiebreaker. That was a very low scoring game last night. I didn't watch it, but what was it? 23 points total.
Pretty low, yeah. It was like 20 to 3, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of that game, Amanda shares a similar pain that I do. I had I was just dabbling in the sports book apps while we were driving home from Wisconsin through the beautiful state of Iowa, and I got struck by this, same game parlay that just hit me in the face when I logged into Caesar Sportsbook, and it was Chargers -3.5. It was Austin Eckler anytime touchdown, Austin Eckler over 4.5 catches, and Austin Eckler over 54.5 rushing yards. So I'm like, this is tasty. So I lock in for a $10 parlay, would have paid out $70. Each leg of the parlay cashed besides Austin Eckler, who had 4 catches, not 4.5. So I did not cash out my bet. And they pulled Austin Eckler in the fourth quarter if you were watching the game. So it made me sick to my stomach. I was cursing at the TV. It was just a rough scene last night.
Hey, Amanda, this is your first time on, and I forgot to ask you. Can you tell the people about a little bit about yourself? How you know me and Dave, where you grew up, who you like to cheer for?
Sure. Yeah, we can rewind. So I grew up Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I actually live here now. And I met you guys at Drake, in pharmacy school, obviously, became best buds, drinking buddies, all that good stuff. Bonded over football, obviously. And I am a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. Got that from my dad, Kurt Wiedemeier, as well. So they haven't won a Super Bowl since I've been alive. So he calls me the Tiki Idol. But, here we are. We're still cheering for him, still rooting.
Good for you. Keep rooting. I think the Cowboys, at least most of the time, they give you a fun regular season and give you hope going into the playoffs. You could be a fan of the Bears or the Browns or another shitty organization who doesn't even give you, the time of day. So at least the Cowboys are always in the mix, when it comes to playoff time. So that's always good to see. Whose jersey are you wearing there? I love the jersey.
Yeah, so this is actually Jason Witten, favorite, Dallas Cowboy player of all time. Grew up watching him, great tight end. Actually promised my dad that if he does go into the Hall of Fame, which he should, that I'm going to take him to the Hall of Fame game. So we'll be really excited. We've always been like huge Witten fans. So, and it's a throwback jersey too, so it's pretty legit.
Yeah, I like that. Jason Witten was a beast, a real unstoppable tight end. The Gronk before Gronk.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the official name of that jersey is, but that's my favorite of the Cowboys too. I don't know if it's a retro. I don't know if you call it retro. I don't think it is, but like the bold separation of colors instead of like the all blue or all white.
Yeah, I like it too. I think they just call it the throwback jerseys. So.
Oh, it is a throwback. Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, I like it.
So John, are you going to ask what we're drinking this evening?
Yes, I was just going to ask that.
Okay, thanks.
What are you drinking?
Well, go ahead, David.
In honor of Amanda coming on, I decided to crack a couple Busch Lights. So I'm drinking Busch Light this evening.
Wow, with the John Deere logo. In support of farmers. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, in support of farmers and the beautiful state of Iowa.
Okay, what do you have, Amanda?
I have a big tall glass of ice water, actually. I, for some reason, have not been drinking that much lately. Like, I haven't had a binge night out drinking since I was in Green Bay with you, John. So I think New Year's is going to hit me. No, yeah, I'm fine, but I just haven't been like out. Yeah, I haven't been out and about. So I think New Year's is going to hit me pretty hard. I'm a little nervous about that, but we'll see. So.
Amanda, blink twice if you're in trouble.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
Are you safe?
Are you totally safe? I promise.
I just have a sparkling water. What are you guys doing for New Year's, Amanda?
Actually, like all the homies are coming into Eastern Iowa, so we're just getting together. Actually, Adam, he's obviously not in the pick'em league, doesn't care about football, but his girlfriend Claire is going to host us all at her house in Cedar Rapids.
Whoa!
So, yeah, we're all just kind of
that's a big moment for Claire. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to hopefully help her get a little bit more ready and stuff, and I'll help with the food and that kind of stuff too. But
cool.
Yeah, so
are you doing a 2-day? I mean, is everyone getting in Friday?
Yeah, a lot of people are getting in Friday, and a lot of people actually aren't leaving until Monday because they have like Monday off, if you're not in retail. Yeah. So I think the plan is to kind of even maybe go over to my parents on Sunday and watch some football, and hang out and stuff. I mean, Shauna, Morgan, they're all coming to town. They live far away. So my parents haven't seen them in forever either.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Dave, what about you?
I don't think we're doing anything, nothing planned right now, at least. Jackie has to work the 31st and 1st, and I work the 2nd. So it's gonna be pretty low key. There's always good college football games on, so I was thinking about just getting us a bottle of champagne or two and just kind of hanging out, laying low. What about you, John?
High school dinks coming in, and then Michael Harvey and Krishna, like I was telling you, and his his buddy Austin, and this are him and Charmy engaged? I think they are.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
they
so.
are.
His fiance, sweet woman. So I'm excited to see them. I haven't seen them since we graduated. I don't think.
They live way out in Seattle now, so it's good to have them back for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think he's pretty stoked. I'm glad that the Packers won against the Dolphins, so this game means something. It would have really sucked if they already would have been out of the playoffs, which they would have. So at least if I get to see him lose, it'll mean something. It'll be a meaningful loss. So that's really exciting. Do you guys have relationship report cards?
I mean, I do. If you guys want to hear it, it's kind of
Go
funny.
ahead.
Some tea that I'm about to spill, I guess. So I'm gonna give myself like a -1 on a relationship report card. I was, talking to this guy, pretty exclusive with this guy for I would say like maybe 3-4 months now. And I just broke it off with him yesterday, like the day after Christmas.
No. Oh.
Before
Did you
we
get each
even
other gifts?
exchanged, yeah. So I got him like an air fryer, and I made him a tie blanket. But I just had this major change of heart and realized like our personalities are not going to work together. So yeah, broke it off with him last night over the phone because I didn't want him to like come to my house, see the presents I had for him. Like, it's bad.
So you didn't even give him the blanket to curl up and cry with tonight?
No, I did not. And he was really sad, but he said he's just gonna kind of gather his thoughts and call me like later in the week. So we'll see. I mean, he's okay, but he's pretty sad.
Was it a freeing thing? I mean, did you feel good after you did it? I'm sure leading up to it, it sucks because it sucks to like tell people, hey, I don't really get the feeling that you're the one.
Yeah, it was so freeing. I mean, I spent kind of like all weekend Christmas thinking about it just because like he wanted to move to Ankeny. So he wanted to move back to Des Moines. And like, I am just someone like, I love Eastern Iowa. I love my family here, my friends here. And I don't ever really want to do that. So I don't think I would be truly happy if I ever moved there. Also just, he was more of like a person that kind of stayed at home and, didn't really like to go out and about and do all those fun things. And that's just not my life either. And so I was just realistic with myself. And I think it's so freeing to like not be with him anymore, I guess. So we'll see what happens.
This poor bastard. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast.
I know.
No, I don't think he
will. I feel terrible. I don't think he will either.
No, but you really need Amanda. You need someone similar to Kurt, I think. Like a good energy, like, and maybe he's not down to get just smashed that say a random Friday night, but he'll go with you, and he'll be there drinking waters and just having a nice time, and that's what you needed. It's really not a long list, but I think that's towards the top.
Yeah, I think I went for this guy because I thought I wanted a balance. Like I didn't want somebody as crazy as me. I wanted somebody to kind of calm me down. But I realized like I won't ever be truly happy with somebody that's like calming me down. I can't be tamed. Let's go.
No, I agree. And I think you can find someone that's on the calmer side, but still is still very social and likes to go out with people. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's good tea. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks for saving it for the podcast.
No problem.
Our listeners appreciate it.
That's great tea. Yeah, thank you. We've never had such a great, relationship.
That's
before.
the best one.
That's the best one by far.
Yeah, that'll be on our highlight reel in a couple of years.
Yeah, that was excellent. I'm gonna give myself an 8 for this past week. It was the holiday season. Everything went pretty smooth. We drove back to Wisconsin, so I did both there and back of the driving, so 16 total hours. So I think I deserve at least an 8 this week.
Oh, you did you did the driving both ways.
Yeah, I did all the driving. Yep. So
podcasts or music on the ride?
Mainly music, which is another sacrifice that I made. So I think that maybe give me an 8.5.
Okay, good work, David.
I like it.
I got a 7.5. Carla loved her presents, but I play dirty and Scrabble, and so like I just pick like shit words, and then I don't know if you guys have played Scrabble, but basically if you put a word down and someone's like, that's not a word, and they challenge it and they're right, you lose your turn. But if they're wrong, they lose their turn. And so I play like stupid words like B-O is a word in Scrabble, technically, because it's like an Egyptian word. And I play B-I, by. And so we were playing with my grandma, and I think one of the words I played was pubes. And she's like, what the hell is that? And then all these other words, she's like, John, I didn't know you could do all these languages. I don't know all these languages. I said, yeah, it just because I used to play Words with Friends a lot, and I feel like I picked up on like stupid words that you could play, and so that's why I get a downgrade for the week because I played
I don't think you could
shitty.
play other
Dirty
languages. I think
Scrabble.
that's kind of that's
No,
kind of
Dave, there's a Scrabble dictionary. So when you're playing, you can if someone challenges a word online, you go on the it's hosted by Hasbro. You go on the official dictionary, type in the word. If it says it'll say congratulations, that's a word, or it'll say oops, not a word.
yeah, whatever. Scrabble dictionary can shove it. I did. Speaking of games, I played Yahtzee. I think for the first time in my life this past weekend. I was my little sister was pushing me to play some Yahtzee. I didn't really know what it is or how to play, and I smoked everybody. I had like 400 points, 2 Yahtzees. So I'm a huge
Is it
Yahtzee guy
fun?
now. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
Have you played Yahtzee, Amanda?
Yeah, I played Yahtzee before.
What's the recent board game you've played?
So I actually got this one for Christmas. It's called Wavelength. I don't know if you've seen it. It's pretty viral on like TikTok and stuff, but it's hard to explain without going and talking about it for 10 minutes. But it's kind of like a guessing game. You have two like opposite sides of the spectrum. So like an example would be like clean and dirty. And so like, I don't know, you have to give a clue to this like clean, dirty spectrum to get your team to guess where it's at on the spectrum. So like something super, super clean would, I don't know, be like dishes you just washed. And then something super, super dirty would be like, I don't know, poop or something. And then, so you got to get it on the spectrum. I don't know. It's confusing.
I'll check it out. You think it's worth a buy?
Yeah, it's for sure worth the buy. I think we're going to play it on New Year's and stuff because it's really fun. I just did a terrible job of explaining it.
But it's like a party game where you can play with like up to 10, 12 people. A lot of
Oh,
people.
yeah, like a ton of people. Yeah. And it'd be fun.
Cool. What's the max player size on Yahtzee, Dave?
I literally have no idea. It's the first time I ever played Yahtzee, and
I
we
think
only played
literally
one
as many as you
game.
want.
We only played one
Probably.
game, and then I quit because I wanted to, leave on top of the mountains. So that might be the last time I ever play Yahtzee as well. But the feeling of rolling those Yahtzees and screaming Yahtzee is just a really good feeling.
Wow.
And I got to do it twice. So
that's good. Yeah, I'll have to give it a try. I haven't played Yahtzee. I don't know if I've ever played it. So, can you give us our lock of the week results and the big baller of the week results?
yeah, really not a great week for our locks of the week. I had the Buccaneers -4.5 versus Arizona. Just a total BS game. The Bucks won but did not cover. Then you and Bo, our guest, had the Dolphins -4.5 versus the Packers. I think a little reverse psychology out of both of you guys. You were just hoping that since you're terrible pickers, that if you picked the Dolphins, the Packers would inevitably win. And the Packers, won outright, as we all know. So that moves me to 9-7 on the year, moves you to 7-9, and our guest to 3-9. So Amanda, I'm once again asking for your help to turn things around for the guests. So
I got this. Don't worry.
and for our big ballers of the week, and maybe you can help me out, John, just by finding how many points they got. But I had DJ Moore, and he, I believe, had a pretty good game, 17 or 18 points. But I need you to look up Zach Moss, who was your pick, and Raheem Mostert, who was Bo's. I'm not sure.
Okay, DJ Moore, 20 points in PPR. So
Nice.
probably wide receiver like 16. Very good. Zach Moss, I think he shit the bed. Yep, 8 points. And then Raheem Mostert, 4.9 points.
Oh.
So I would say those do not qualify.
I think next year what we need to do is when we do big ballers, we do who scores the most points out of our 3 picks, and
I like
they get a win for the week.
I should have picked, and he was on my fantasy team, and he was on my bench, and that's probably why I did so well. Cam Akers balled out this week. I don't know if you guys, you probably. I didn't watch the game, but I saw they destroyed the. Who did they play?
Yeah, Denver Broncos. So it was a Christmas Day game, and we were at my grandma's house, and she was screaming to turn the TV off, but the cousins were fighting to keep it on. And my brother-in-law, he was like, what are you feeling about this game, Dave? And I said, well, I picked the Denver Broncos. I think it was 3 or 2.5. I was like -2.5 in our pick'em league, so you should hammer the Rams, because he was trying to gamble on it, and he was like. About 15 minutes later, he was like, I'm going with you, Dave. I'm going Denver. and we just
Oh,
watched Denver just get obliterated on national TV on Christmas Day. So he was pissed at me, and I was like, dude, I told you to take the Rams because I'm a terrible gambler, and he didn't listen, so I think it's on him.
That is one of the laws of the universe. You always fade David Wood's pick.
Yeah,
If you're betting.
exactly.
Especially if you have money on it, then you definitely want to fade it. All you have to put is $5 and it's a lock to go the other way.
Yeah. Yep. So maybe at the end of the game we can at the end of the podcast we can tie in my college football playoff picks so that people can make a lot of money going the opposite.
Oh boy, we're gonna make millionaires on this one.
Yeah.
Top scorers of the week in fantasy: T.J. Hawkinson, 36 points; Cam Akers, 35 points; C.D. Lamb, 34 points; Devontae Smith, 32; Justin Jefferson, 32, and then top quarterback was Dak Prescott. So I know that was a very high scoring game. Let's get into before we do the surprise games, let's just talk about that Cowboys game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Dak did have a phenomenal game. You kind of go in as a Cowboys fan expecting to just like lose in December, right? Because I mean, historically they are, not good in these types of situations, especially against a Phillies team who they are gonna underestimate, because Gardner Minshew's in. So I just was not expecting much from the game. I honestly thought the Cowboys could possibly lose because they're gonna underestimate their opponent. And the game started and Dak actually our opening drive. So Philly scored, I believe. And then our opening drive, Dak threw a pick six. And me and my dad are just down in the dumps. We're like, oh, great. This is not going to go well and all this stuff. Then it was a really, back and forth game and it was pretty awesome. Kind of the crucial catch and stuff of the game, I thought was the big T.Y. Hilton catch. It was his first catch as the Dallas Cowboy, and it was on a 3rd and 30, like late in the fourth quarter to kind of keep us in the game. So yeah, that was wild, led to a touchdown. And then Gardner Minshew like threw a pick at the end of the game too to, give us the game essentially. And so it was it was super exciting. I had my Apple Watch on the whole time and I was watching my heart rate and actually like snapping people because, during that catch and stuff, my heart rate went up to like 135 and my resting is 58. And I like got that in a picture and sent it out and snap. And yeah, it was just kind of crazy game. But I mean, I'm glad we won, so.
Now, something that if people don't see it and they just look at the stat line, it's hard to tell. How did the offensive and defensive lines play? Did the offensive line for the Cowboys do a good job at protecting Dak? And then did the defensive line, were they able to get to Minshew without a blitz or,
Yeah, so actually Dak had a lot of like hits and like sacks and stuff, because our offensive line didn't perform very well. We're kind of banged up, a couple guys out. So, I mean, that was pretty tough. And sometimes Dak, he either does really bad under pressure or really good. It's never, just about even. So, if he's going to get hit, he can either make a great play or if he's, going to get hit, he does something stupid and throws a pick and gets these, fancy feet, and doesn't, complete his passes and stuff. But I mean, they held up and Dak made plays when he needed. C.D. Lamb, like you said, for the fantasy, he really stepped up and caught a ton of catches for us. So that was good. Our defensive line has been, great all season. We have Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. So we do get in there. We get those sacks, especially on like third downs and stuff. So, I mean, I'm really proud of our defense and the way we've played, especially the defensive line for sure.
Yeah, I looked at the stats. 6 sacks the Cowboys allowed. So Dak got sacked 6 times. So they are banged up. You're saying there's a couple of starters that are injured?
Yeah, so Tyrone Smith has been kind of like iffy, he was out for a long time. I think he actually just got back last game, but he I think got hurt in the game and then came out. And then Terrence Steele too. I mean, he was a big one that we lost. So it's hard, to kind of protect Dak in those situations. But I couldn't tell, I guess, if the Eagles were blitzing a lot to kind of get pressure on Dak. But yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Cowboys are, and I don't know a bunch about the Cowboys, don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're forced because of injuries to start, I believe, 41-year-old Jason Peters. So, they're really put in a tough position when you have to go to an offensive lineman that old. He's been performing decent, especially for being that old, and for not getting a ton of reps in training camp and in the beginning of the season. But they're a team that historically has like a really good offensive line, and they have a lot of injuries right now. That's kind of hurting their potential, but they're performing really well in the run game and in the pass game. So it's showing that they have the playmakers maybe this year, the play calling that can help them push through any barriers that they might have.
For sure. I also want to shout out like our defensive backs. So, cornerbacks, we have two, that are hurt right now. So Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, both hurt. And this guy, Deron Bland, he was like a 5th round pick or something for Dallas. So he's a rookie. And he actually has 5 picks this season. So
Wow.
like he really stepped up, and he actually picked off Gardner Minshew, in the Eagles game and stuff too. So he's really kicking ass. And I don't know if you guys know Trayvon Diggs. He had a great season last season with almost like 1 pick every single game. But he hasn't stepped up as much. I think, maybe quarterbacks just aren't throwing it his way, but it's opening up opportunities for these guys like Bland, to come in and kind of shine too, so it's been good.
Is Diggs their alpha cornerback? Like, do they match him up against the stars? Okay.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, and he kind of gets burned sometimes because I think he goes for the ball too much and doesn't, make his tackles and shit like that. But yeah, he's definitely the star, and people want to get the ball away from him. So it's helping our rookie step up though, which is good.
Cool. Going forward in the running game, do you think they're going to stick with Tony Pollard, get a free agent, draft a guy? What do you think that's going to look like next year?
Yeah, it's so tough. I am a huge fan of Tony Pollard. I think the kid just like absolutely
Looks
runs
good.
with heart. I mean, when he's in there, he looks phenomenal. He can kind of get in these little spaces that sometimes Zeke can't. But he does need some work on the blocking side of things. I think if you're really looking for the running back to like block on a play, you're going to put Zeke in there. I think Zeke kind of got a big head and got overpaid a little bit, and so it's nice to see Pollard really step up and like average, more yards per carry than even Zeke does, and really good average per carry for the whole NFL. So I really like him. I like the running back by committee, because you're not relying on one guy to get all these reps. I remember back in the day, Marion Barber and I think it was Julius Jones. It was like they called them lightning and thunder when I first started watching Cowboys football, and like that's kind of what it feels like it is. Zeke's the thunder where you go in and you need a couple yards at the goal line and he's going to get you there. But Pollard can kind of just sneak through these little gaps and really do well, especially passing, catching and yards after the catch and stuff like that too. So I like Pollard. I hope we stick with him, but it's going to be hard paying all these guys.
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if a team would pay 2 running backs. So, that's kind of the Cowboys have their hands tied a little bit with the contract that they have with Zeke. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
they love Tony Pollard's game, but it's going to be really hard for them to pay Tony Pollard. And,
Yeah,
it's a tough league right now where a lot of teams don't want to pay a running back at all. So paying 2 running backs will be tough. But, I could see Jerry Jones forking over the cash for him, but I would be pretty shocked, I think, to continue to pay for 2 running backs when he probably wants to fill like some other gaps if he can.
for sure. It just uses up so much cap space. Like you can't almost do that. So we'll see what the season brings and stuff too.
Yeah, I took a total 180 on Tony Pollard this season. I was really I was kind of down on him. I kind of thought he was one of those guys that was having a lot of success because the Cowboys offense was successful. They have a good offensive line. They have a good scheme under Kellen Moore. And I thought, he provided a really good change of pace for Zeke. And I thought he was having a lot of success. And then in the free agent market, he was going to get a lot of money from some team and he was, not going to pan out very well. But when Zeke was out and when, Tony Pollard was thrust into that number 1 role, he really, really shined. So that gave me a lot more confidence for Tony Pollard's abilities.
For sure.
Good receiver too, it looks like.
Really good receiver, yeah.
Yeah, and
for sure.
that's big, especially for fantasy purposes, because just receptions count for more points. And so yeah, going forward, he might be a good pickup. It will be interesting to see in the playoffs if they can lean more on that run game. I think means success for a lot of teams because they can wear down the defensive line so that the quarterback gets more time when they do passing plays. But I think having 2 great running backs by committee is now like the secret sauce in a lot of these offenses, it seems like.
For sure.
Yeah, Zeke is a really like complete back just as is. And when the Cowboys they have both those guys healthy and they're grinding out, first and second down, and Zeke gets 5, maybe 6 yards on total on those two first downs, first and second down. And then you put Tony Pollard in and dump off a halfback screen. Like defenses are having a hard time stopping that. So if those guys can be healthy in the playoffs, that's gonna be a tough thing to stop.
Yeah, and that's really our MO too. Like in some of these games, we get up so much because we do like, pass, get touchdowns and stuff. And then we just run it down their throats, and kind of coast. And then our defense all of a sudden gets us a couple takeaways in a game. And like we are winning by a lot to some of these teams. So, I mean, if we can do that going forward and in the playoffs and stuff, I'm really excited. But it's just we can't go underestimate these teams, because they're a lot better than some of the ones that we're kind of crushing at times. So.
Yeah, and then as far as like receivers, both wide receivers and tight ends, obviously CD Lamb is the alpha guy. Are there any other? Because Dalton Schultz, there's a lot of speculation he may leave because he's due for a big contract. Do you see a tight end coming up, or do you see a second best option for receiver?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. There's a lot kind of going on. We're getting the ball to like a lot of different guys, I would say. Not anyone that really like jumps out. I mean, I really honestly think that they should use Turpin more as a receiver. So Kevontae Turpin, he was the one in preseason that ran back, all the kicks, the kickoffs and stuff. Like, honestly, I think he had 2 run backs in one game. So he's our punt returner. But I love when he's in. He's small, he's little, reminds me of like a Cole Beasley type receiver, but it's just fun when he's in there. And so I think we should do a little bit more with him. We also picked
Turpin.
up, Kevontae Turpin.
Is he a wide receiver technically, or what is his?
Yeah, he's a wide receiver, but he returns all of our punts as well because he's so fast, like ridiculously fast, and makes people miss.
He's actually a Pro Bowler this year as a kick returner, and he was a sprinter for TCU. So I actually saw him at Drake Relays one year when I was working as a Nap Center monitor. He is like a freakishly fast dude. So the Cowboys took a shot on him and said, "Hey, let's just put this guy back and catch kicks." He kind of struggles like with his receptions and with his hands. So if you just get in the ball on a kickoff or a punt return, like you said, Amanda, and just let him go, let him run like north and south, he is really explosive. So I've thought it was really cool that they've been able to use him and use his skill sets, and he's had a lot of success, and now he's a Pro Bowler this year. So
for sure.
Yeah, he is a small dude. He's 5'9", 150.
Tiny, but he gets in these crazy plays. Yeah, it's fun.
Man, he's got to have a lot of nuts running around with some of the. I mean, he's got guys out there that are easily 100 pounds more than him.
Really fast, dude. It's
I didn't know about him.
You can't hurt what you can't touch.
That's true.
Exactly.
So playoffs, is there a team that you think is there a team that worries you the most in the playoffs? If you
oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I'm already scared of our first game. So like right now, as it stands, we would, be the top wild card seed unless something crazy happens and the Eagles lose out and we win out. Then we could, clinch the division title and then home field advantage and all that stuff. But right now, as it stands, like we'd be playing Tom Brady and the Buccaneers for the first game in the playoffs. And we lost to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers week 1, both this season and last season. Like Tom Brady is just one of those guys, kind of like Aaron Rodgers, that just literally owns the Cowboys. And I don't know what it is. I know he's not having a good season and all this stuff, but we go in and we underestimate these opponents, especially in December, especially in the playoffs, So I'm even worried about our first game. But it also is kind of crazy because the NFC East, every team from the NFC East right now can make it into the playoffs. And It's always tough winning a division game. I mean, no matter what, the teams know each other so well, like they play each other so hard. So any division game I'd be scared of. The only team I'm not scared of is the Vikings. I honestly think they're just completely frauds, and I cannot stand the Vikings. So, but we beat them like 40-3 in the regular season. So hopefully that'd be okay, but I don't know.
I do have a question for Packers fans. So I think, do the Cowboys play the Commanders the last game of the season?
Yep.
Will there be anything for them to play for in that last game? I mean,
the Commanders? Or the Cowboys?
For the Cowboys, would they have anything to play for? Would they play their starters?
Seeding is always important.
Yeah, it depends because, like, say, I think Jalen Hurts is going to play this week for the Eagles, but if he doesn't and they like miraculously lose to the Saints, like then the Cowboys could become the number 1 seed if we win out and if Philly loses out, essentially. So that would be the only thing that we'd really have to play for. I would be kind of scared if we didn't play our starters, let them rest and all that stuff, just because we always look terrible after bye weeks and that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out. It's kind of interesting with, the 17 game season, but.
Yeah, I saw I don't know if it was on Reddit or Twitter, but they said that if the Packers went out and let's say the Commanders beat the Browns, then basically Mike McCarthy would decide the Packers season if they get in the playoffs or not. And if I was Mike McCarthy, I'd be like, F you guys, let's just let the Commanders stomp all over us so the Packers can't get in.
Jeez.
I don't know. I would do it. I don't know. Maybe he still has his heart in Green Bay, but I sincerely doubt that. So, yeah. Thank you for that cap of the Cowboys, because we don't get to talk much about them. Like you say, it's a lot of Eagles, Packers, Bears. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have a few Vikings, but none that have won, I don't think. Right?
No, Nirvan hasn't even sniffed, a victory this whole season. Kyle Acker, isn't he Vikings fan? He hasn't been too close. I think he took second maybe once. So yeah, the Vikings fans, they've been bottom feeders this season, but their team's having a lot of success. So, shout out Vikings fans.
Yeah, good for you guys. What was your guys' surprise game of the week?
I can go. We already kind of touched on this, but I was just shocked that LA just absolutely killed the Broncos. Like they got beat so badly, like 50-14 or something like that. So it was just kind of a wild scenario. I mean, Russell Wilson is just awful. And I hoped they were going to lose, but I didn't know it would be by that bad.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson, in his defense, he sucks, but he does not play defense. And the Rams hanging a 50 piece on you is not a good look. And if you were watching the game, I was watching the beginning a little bit, and Russell Wilson threw a couple picks that like gave the Rams the ball in really good field position and allowed them to just kind of punch those touchdowns in. But still, 50 points on what people consider one of the best defenses in the league was pretty surprising.
Yeah, that's why I benched Cam Akers, because all throughout the season, if you have any fantasy player playing the Broncos, you're a little nervous that they're not, because there's just not going to be a lot of points scored. Yeah. So I'm like, well, shit, it'll probably be another 10 to 15 point. Each team scores like 10, 12 points, whatever, shit game. No one wants to watch. And then, yeah, I see the Rams just fucking bulldoze them. So, yeah, that's a good one. That is a great surprise. I don't know. What is your guys' take? Why did the Rams just go from winning the Super Bowl to being absolute dog shit? I've just never seen such a reverse in like less than a year. It's like 11 months since they were supposedly the best team.
I mean, I think a big factor is you have to consider the injuries too. Matt Stafford hasn't been himself all year, and he was able to plug in there last season, be pretty much fully healthy, and go in there and sling it around to his number one guy, Cooper Kupp, who we've seen out most of the season as well. Cam Akers was not himself at the beginning of the season, coming off that Achilles injury. The defense isn't as strong as it was. So I think a lot of injuries was a big factor. Whitworth was the left tackle for the Super Bowl. He retired this year. So they're shuffling pieces around in the offensive line. They're plugging in Allen Robinson, who everyone thought would be like their saving grace. But he was kind of, not a great fit, at least at first. So I think there's a lot of moving parts. And that's always the weirdest thing for me. And obviously it's a business and people have to get paid, but every time in professional sports, when a team wins like a championship, the roster completely overturns the next year. And like you saw that with the Rams this year, it overturned on its own. And then there was a bunch of injuries on top of that. So we've never seen in NFL history a team drop this poorly after a Super Bowl victory, but I think a lot of those things you can blame for that.
You have any takes on that, Amanda?
No, I think David pretty much summed it up. I think they kind of went for broke, like last year when they built the Super Bowl team and stuff. And then it just doesn't work out, when you have that big of a turnover and all the injuries that they've had. So I think David kind of nailed it.
And they are shitting away their future by giving away all those picks. I mean, they don't have a first-round pick until like 2027, I don't think. They went after Jalen Ramsey. They're going after Allen Robinson. They're going after, Allen Robinson they didn't give up a first-round pick for, but, I can't just think off the top of my head who they went for. I think Von Miller they might have given a first-round pick for. I don't remember. But the point being that they have gone, all in on winning a title, and they won a title, so that you can pat yourselves on the back for that. But you're kind of screwing yourself for the future, and it's hit them a lot quicker than we thought it might have. Sean
Yeah, and
McVay's
that,
already talking about going to TV, going to broadcasting, and Aaron Donald's probably going to retire at the end of the season, and things are just going to go from bad to worse.
and the line is atrocious too. Like it's just been a train wreck to watch. But I don't really care if they do good or bad. It doesn't really bother me. But it's just surprising to see that much of a fall from grace. What was your surprise game of the week, Dave?
There was a couple surprise games, a couple really close like spreads that really screwed me at the end of it. So I was kind of pissed about that. But I think my biggest surprise game of the week had to be Carolina versus Detroit. Um, surprise to everyone listening to the podcast, but I had money on Detroit. That's how confident. That's how confident I felt about them. We talked about.
Oh boy!
We talked on the podcast last episode. I was like, I love the Lions this week, but I don't love them at -3.5. So as I'm driving my stupid ass through Iowa, I see Detroit's -3 on all the gambling websites. So I smacked $10 down on them as quick as I could, and next thing you know, they lose 37-23 to Carolina, who's been decent lately, but I didn't expect them to kind of beat them, as handedly as they did there.
Yeah, and that Carolina's looking at the playoffs now. I mean, that's in the realm of possibility, I believe. Let me just check.
Yeah, they are. You're right.
Buccaneers are 7-8, and the Panthers are 6-9. So they're one game back of the Buccaneers.
And they play each other this week, I believe.
Oh wow!
Huge game.
And did the Panthers beat them?
I don't remember. I don't remember what happened in the week 1 matchup, to be honest. But or not week 1, but the first game.
Week 1 was boys and Bucks.
The first game that these guys played. I want to say that Carolina beat them in the first game too.
I'll have to look that up. Damn. I think my surprise game of the week was the Texans pulling it out against the Titans. As you know, I picked the Titans to be the favorite. They were my favorite in the AFC playoffs to come into the Super Bowl from that side. And I apologize to all Titans fans because I just put a death mark on their back, and now they won't even make the playoffs. So that Malik Willis, I would never have. No offense to him. He's a young man. I'm sure he's very good at football, but he's just not NFL caliber football, it looked like. I don't know if maybe they don't scheme the game around him correctly, but he looked atrocious. I did watch the second half, and I would not plan on building any sort of football team around him. So all they had was Derrick Henry, and when all you have to stop is an aging Derrick Henry, it's not really too tall of an order if the Houston Texans were able to do it.
And see, that game was actually huge for. I don't really want to talk about the Bears this episode, as you know, probably why. We just got our ass kicked by the Bills. Things are not looking good this season. But that was a huge matchup for the Bears because the Texans got their second win of the season. They have a tie as well, I believe, in one of the first games of the year. So the Texans have 2 games to play. And if they lose one of those games and the Bears lose out, or excuse me, if they win one of those games and the Bears lose out, the Bears have the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. So that is huge for the Bears that the Texans won this week. And the remaining 2 games they have, I believe, is the Jaguars and the Colts. So not two amazing
Maybe the
teams.
Colts.
The Texans could squeeze one out here, and that would be crazy for the Bears to get the number 1 overall pick because teams would be licking their chops to trade up to the Bears there. So, that would be huge for our franchise. And we have 2 tough games, going for the rest of the season. So I don't really see us winning another game. I don't see us trying to win another game. I think that would be stupid. So I like our chances.
I honestly like your chances too. If you think about it, the Texans, I mean, the Cowboys barely beat the Texans a couple weeks ago. And then wasn't it the Chiefs that barely beat the Texans as well?
Overtime.
So I wasn't that surprised by the, game this week, the Texans, winning or keeping it close with the Titans. So if they continue to win, yeah, you're right. You could have the number 1 overall draft. And I mean, that's looking good towards the next season. Because I like Justin Fields. I love watching the kid. I think it'll be good. So.
Yeah,
you hear that, John? You can't even pick a surprise game of the week. Amanda was not surprised by that game. So you can't do anything right.
I was just surprised because, I don't know, you just assume the 1-12-1 Texans aren't going to put up much of a fight against anyone. But then I suppose you're right. I forgot that they had that overtime game against the Chiefs. So Davis Mills, maybe has a very bright future. No, I'm just kidding. They're gonna. I think
No,
that.
definitely not.
Who do you guys think will be the first quarterback to go off the board?
I think Bryce Young is going to be the first pick. We heard Bo's opinion on that. He thinks that would be a tragic mistake, I believe were his words that he said. Um, I don't know. I think Bryce Young has the best arm talent out of any of those guys that are in the draft pool this year, but his body and his frame is not NFL ready. Um, and he's less mobile than Kyler Murray. So you look at like you could say, oh, Kyler Murray's a small guy. He's had a lot of success. He just signed a $250 million contract, but he's not as mobile and is not as thick as Kyler Murray. So Bryce Young's going to be a pretty frail body, but I think he's the best arm talent in the draft. But if it were me, I'd go C.J. Stroud.
What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm not like super big in college, but I mean, so Bryce Young's Alabama, right? CJ Stroud is Ohio State. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I plead the fifth on this one. I guess I don't know.
And teams are getting into that mode already where, they start overhyping like size, hand size, things like that, where teams just start overthinking this shit, like a la the Bears in 2018 and 2017 when they picked Mitch Trubisky with the number 2 overall pick, traded up for Mitch Trubisky number 2. I think that's going to happen again with Will Levis. I think a team's going to pick him probably either first or second.
Dude, I don't get
so.
What is the hype around Will Levis?
I think he's a little overrated as well. I mean, he's a good NFL ready body. He has a strong arm. He's pretty accurate, but I just looked at the tape and you looked at the tape with this guy and he's thrown a lot of interceptions. He's not as mobile as the other two guys. He hasn't had as much success in college as the other two guys. So I wish teams would just stop, overthinking this stuff and stop looking at all like how big is this guy or how strong is this guy? Like, how successful has this guy been? If he's winning games in college, like I was loving Deshaun Watson out of college, and you can't look at that now because he's been out of the league for 2 years, but I love Deshaun Watson out of college because he was on Clemson, which is a big program. They're winning constantly. They won a national championship against Alabama, and I was like, this is our guy. And then they overthink and they say, well, Mitch Trubisky, he's Caucasian. He drives a really shitty truck. He's a great guy. He's a Christian. Let's trade up for him instead. And, it just bends you over and bones you for the next 5 years. So don't overthink it, NFL. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I think there's that famous story that Alex Smith was taken by the 49ers over Aaron Rodgers because he opened the door for his mother. And that's why they ended up going with Alex Smith. And Alex Smith wasn't bad by any means, but he's
not Aaron Rodgers.
The Hall of Fame. Right, yeah. So you are right. They look into so much bullshit when I guess it is a crapshoot at the end of the day, but they do take some of these guys that don't really look that talented and elevate them in their minds for some reason. I don't know why they do it, but maybe they talk to them and they really like hanging out with them or something. But it doesn't win football games if you're fun to hang out with.
In a league that makes all these business decisions, they don't seem to make business decisions on draft day. They seem to say, well, this guy's got some character issues. Like Kayvon Thibodeau, for example, he's on the Giants. He's a defensive end. He was the number 5 overall pick. He was projected all college football season to be the number 1 overall pick. And then come draft time, he's like really involved in NIL stuff. He's talking about things beyond football. And then they start saying Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't love football. And then he starts sliding down in the draft, and then he falls to number 5 to the Giants, and he's been pretty talented. He's been banged up a little bit, but once he's out there, he played in that primetime game against the Redskins and dominated them. So, teams just overthink stuff, and they try to find a reason to have a guy slide in the draft, and I always pat those teams on the back that pick the guys that have character issues or, drive nice cars or have fat NIL deals. Like if they're good players, pick them early. Like they deserve to be picked.
A guy I always think of like how they missed it was Jalen Hurts. Because I think he went in the second round, but he had success at Alabama and Oklahoma. Obviously, he can adapt. He's flexible. I know he didn't necessarily have the passing game, but I just think that was a guy that everyone slept on, and it worked out for the Eagles to take him, I guess.
Yeah, but if you don't watch a lot of college football, and he wasn't exactly like this freakishly talented guy, he did have a lot of team success. I do agree with you, but that's also playing for Alabama. How many Alabama quarterbacks have been just like having team success, but they're shitty quarterbacks? And then he played for Oklahoma, who is like a prolific offense against historically Big 12 defenses that aren't very good. So that wasn't something I was shocked with, that he dropped a little bit in the draft. And the only reason he transferred to Oklahoma is because he got beat out at Alabama. So you have to remember that too.
Thank you for the rebuttal.
You're welcome.
Can we talk about the Packers game a little bit? Did you guys watch that at all?
I didn't watch a lot of it. So yeah, you guys go on about it. I didn't see most of it. I was at family Christmas. So,
well, the Packers slammed Tua, who already has concussion problems, against the ground, assaulted him, rattled his brain, and the whole second half his brain was mashed potatoes, and he ended up throwing 3 interceptions to let the Packers crawl their filthy fingers back into the game, and the Packers ended up winning and keeping their playoff hopes alive. But the only thing I really saw out of that game is assault against a quarterback, and I saw the Packers draft pick slide even lower. So I hope you guys keep winning these games. I hope that draft pick keeps getting shittier, and I cannot wait to hammer the 49ers, just beating the shit out of the Packers week 1 in the playoffs or whatever they play them.
I remember when the Celtics made the finals, you had told me that the Bucks should cheer for them, that a Bucks fan should cheer for the Celtics this past year. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I stand by that. It makes the Bucks look better. Whenever a team beats you in the playoffs, you shouldn't necessarily root for them to be like, let's go Celtics, if you're a big Bucks fan, but it makes your team look better if the future champion beats your team. So
I agree. That's why you should be cheering for the Packers, Dave, because basically the playoffs started from them when they played the Dolphins. Like, they have to win and keep winning, otherwise they're not going to advance. You know what I mean? So you should be right there with us, cheering from the grandstands.
That doesn't make any. Where is that side of your argument? I don't understand your argument.
Because the Packers beat the Bears so often, and it makes the Bears look better when the Packers do better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but no one is looking at, if the Packers go on a run and win the Super Bowl, no one's going to say, "Damn, the Bears are pretty good." The Packers beat their ass twice this year. Like, that is not going to happen for me. So no, I don't agree with your statement.
Okay, yeah, I thought. I think Tua having the concussion was the reason they won. I think if that wouldn't have happened, the Dolphins are a scary ass team because they have Hill and Waddle just sprinting around. No one can keep up with them, and you're just ready for a fucking 90-yard touchdown. So I was sitting there, and they were up by 3 points, and I'm like, yep, I'm just going to watch another blown coverage, and Tyreek Hill's going to just walk into the end zone. But obviously Tua, it made sense after the game that he had a concussion because the interceptions weren't terrible, but he really overthrew a lot of them, and a lot of the last two, there was definitely a defender right there, and I don't know if he just missed it or the announcer said, well, the offense is schemed up where you have to think quickly. You can't really think. You just are, where that receiver is going to be, and you pass it. You don't really look at the defense much, but I think he probably had some had trouble going on there. So I do feel bad for him. I do like Tua a lot, and I would like to see him succeed in the NFL.
Now, I mean, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here. I think the Packers made plays when they needed to, and they've shown, some grit here down the stretch, showing that they want to be playing, they want to make a playoff push. So I admire the Packers for that. Just like you said with the Dolphins scheme, and the talent that they have and the speed that they have. They need to have Tua be leading these guys and pushing the ball down the field. And when you saw on those interceptions, he kind of noodle armed it, and he tried to put it into a window when Tua's strengths and that offense's strengths are not Tua's arm strength. It's Tua's ability to time things up, Tua's ability to lead receivers to the ball instead of pushing the ball through the window like you see with a Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers or Justin Herbert, who have those stronger arms. So, I think Tua getting banged up a little bit could have played a factor in that. You kind of saw these weird reads, these weird throws, but the Packers made plays when they needed to. 3 huge turnovers at the end of the game to give them a chance, and they scored when they needed to. So, the Packers got it done. So I gotta tip my cap to that.
Yeah, and actually, when you look at the stats, and I didn't know this, I was just looking at it. On third downs, they were 2 of 14 on third downs. And that is terrible. I don't even know how they ended up winning with that bad. They did. I would like to give credit to the defensive line because just rushing 4, they were able to get a lot of pressure onto it and at least make him move around and make plays with his feet. So,
Amanda, let me ask you this. Okay, so you're going into the playoffs as a Cowboys fan. you and I both know, we can look each other in the eyes and know the history of Packers versus Cowboys, especially in the playoffs. How are you feeling about the Cowboys potentially playing the Packers in the playoffs? Like, is this something you're like, this year is different, or is this something that you're kind of shaking in your boots?
First of all, yeah, Des Bryant, it was 100% a catch. So that was, a rough one.
Agree.
But I mean, yeah, it's kind of like the Tom Brady thing, like I mentioned earlier. It just feels like Rodgers, for whatever reason, owns the Cowboys. Like, no matter how bad of a season he's having and how good of a season, the Cowboys are having this year. I mean, we went up to Green Bay and we lost that game. Rodgers threw, who was that receiver that he threw 3 touchdowns to?
Christian Watson.
Yeah, exactly. Like he got it done, somehow. And Watson wasn't even doing that great until then. But I just feel like the Cowboys and Dak Prescott and just everybody in our organization doesn't go out there and like get the job done, especially in December. We've never been to an NFC championship game since I've been alive. So just the fact of, seeing these teams that do look scary and do beat the Cowboys in the regular season, it does scare me to play potentially Rodgers in the playoffs just as much as any other team.
They have spy Mike McCarthy, who should know a decent
Yeah.
amount about the franchise. He was on the inside looking out. But
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know. I think I will say the what's cool, or if you're a fan, what you can always be proud of with the Cowboys is they've always had a great defense. I've always felt like an outsider looking in. Like the Packers defense, I've never been really excited about. They look like they always look like garbage. But the Cowboys defense, I always feel like they have a great defensive line that can always get pressure on the opposing quarterback, and they're really good at stopping the run. And as a Packers fan, we've never really gotten to see that. So I think that's what makes the Cowboys scary in the playoffs, is they can at least keep you in the game for hopefully the ball to bounce your way.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Quinn is just an excellent defensive coordinator. Like I feel like our defense is so disciplined and so, always trying for those takeaways, those forced fumbles, those major sacks and stuff. So, I mean, I really respect him, and I think he's staying in Dallas, which is good because he probably could have had some head coaching opportunities.
Last 3 games, 23 points to the Houston Texans, 40 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars, 34 points to Gardner Minshew and the Eagles. That would be my biggest concern, is the Cowboys defense, to be honest. Like, I think their offense is looking really good and they've been able to keep them in games and win games. I love their pass rush, like you guys talked about. I completely agree with that. But I get nervous about their linebackers and their secondary. I do love Anthony Barr. I think that was a huge pickup for the Cowboys. I think he's a really good player. But the Cowboys need to contain teams and make sure that they're not, getting into these like 35, 40-point games, because that's just dangerous come playoff time. Because if something's not clicking for your offense, then that's when it goes down the shitter. A la the Packers, they get to the playoffs, their offense is always what keeps them in games in the regular season, and they get to the postseason, their offense trips up a little bit, and their defense is not holding these teams, and their special teams, that's a whole different story we can talk about for another day. But you got to make sure come playoff time, your defense is ready to roll.
For sure.
They'll be ready. Cowboys defense will be ready, Dave.
Would you get your head in? Thank you. Get your head in the screen, please.
What do you guys have as your big ballers of the week? Oh, can I give one last shout out to Mercedes Lewis, the 38-year-old tight end for the Packers? He had a touchdown catch and he had a big 3rd down catch for like 25 yards or something. 38 years old and still out there balling like a real player.
He should be sponsored by my mother's nonprofit serving older adults. I'm very proud of him.
Thank you, Mercedes, for your help.
Yeah. Okay, who's your big baller, Amanda?
John?
Did you come up with one, a big baller of the week for this upcoming week?
Yeah, it feels kind of like a cop-out. So Kansas City running back Isaiah Pacheco. Don't even know if I said that right, but I mean, so with Edwards-Helaire like on IR essentially, and he was sharing a lot of, of the runs and stuff with that Jerick McKinnon guy, but he's just kind of outshined him. So he's been doing pretty well in fantasy and stuff. But I think the reason he's really going to go off this week is because Kansas City is playing Denver. Denver has nothing to play for. I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs are really just going to get up in the game early and then just run the ball, run it down their throats, because they have no reason to really score a ton of points against a Denver offense that's just awful. So that's kind of my thoughts behind it.
That's a good pick. And the Rams kind of warmed them up, broke them down a little bit, so they're ready for another piss pounding. So I
Yeah,
like that pick. Dave?
Yeah, I like that pick as well. I think Pacheco's been pretty impressive this year.
for sure.
I like, whenever I pick my big baller, I like looking at the matchups. So my pick this week is Gabe Davis on the Buffalo Bills. They're going against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. I think it's going to be one of those high scoring games, and I think the Bengals, if they're smart, they're going to focus on Stephon Diggs, with Eli Apple and maybe putting a safety over the top. And Gabe Davis is going to have a lot of success, I think. Most defenses can't match up with him physically, and I think Josh Allen's going to find him for not one but two scores this week.
Wow, that is a big call. Also, just a side note, the Panthers did beat the Buccaneers early in the year, 21-3. So
That's what I thought.
Wow.
Yeah, they kind
that'll
of
be a
beat
big game.
Yeah, they beat them up pretty good, I think.
Yeah, put that
Yeah.
on your viewing schedule this weekend. That'll be a fun one to watch. I am going to take Isaiah Hodgins of the New York Giants. He had a great game this last week, even though they ended up pissing it away against the Vikings. But I think Daniel Jones will trust him again this week when they play the shitty Colts, and maybe six receptions, 80 yards. So I don't think he'll do tremendously well, but it looked like there was a little bit of a connection, dare I say, not romantic, but just a best friend connection.
Sexual chemistry between Dan
Yeah,
Jones
sexual
and Isaiah
chemistry
Hodgins.
between. That's
Oh
the
my
word I was
God.
looking for. Yeah, and now that we've all picked those players, they will all do atrociously, I'm sure.
Yep. I can't wait.
And then who are you guys' locks of the week?
Ooh, I can go if you guys want, or you want to go
Go,
first?
lay it on
Go
us.
ahead,
Lay it
Amanda.
on us. Thick.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this one, mainly just because your boy Brock Purdy is just kicking ass. So the 49ers play the Raiders this week. So I know the 49ers are going to win by at least a touchdown. They haven't lost since like week 7 or 6. Do you guys know that? It's like week 6 or 7
That's
they
right.
haven't lost since.
They've won 8 games straight. That was their 8th
Yeah.
win against the Commanders.
Yeah, and then the Raiders also need like a ton of help to even make the playoffs. So they're not really playing for a lot. Even though the Raiders are at home, it's in Vegas. I look for a lot of 49ers fans to be there. Like, hell, if I was a Brock Purdy fan, I should just fly to Vegas, this weekend to go watch. So I just feel like the Raiders are gonna get embarrassed at home, and Brock Purdy's just looking awesome, and it's fun to watch him. So
That's
my lock.
That spread is 5.5 points, by the way. So Amanda's is 49ers minus 4.5.
Okay. Amanda, since Iowa, no professional football, college football is huge. Do you enjoy watching the Brock Purdy, George Kittle connection between the Iowa State and the Iowa alum?
Yeah, 100%. It's so fun. It's just fun to watch, see guys come from Iowa, especially there's a ton of tight ends, that are out of Iowa and stuff. And
linemen too.
Yeah, and linemen for sure. So it's cool.
Yeah, I think for that reason, I will be cheering for the 49ers because I think that I like those two guys a lot. And in the playoffs, I wouldn't be upset if they did well.
Yeah, I might do an alternate spread. I feel like they're going to win by like 14, to be honest. So
and quickly share. We did share, but can you just tell us again one more time about that alternate spread you hit on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is like rewinding, but I just had this feeling, man, that the Cowboys were going to kick the Colts' ass. Like, so bad. I don't even know what week it was. It was a few weeks back, but I just knew that they would come in and like literally dominate the game. I wanted to do an alternate spread of 28 points. But DraftKings will only let me do 25 or 23. I forget. But I put $50 on it. I was like, we are going to roll with this. And so I don't even remember how much I ended up winning, but they ended up winning by 35 points. So
yeah, 19-54 was beginning of December. They just steamrolled them.
Yeah, just steamrolled the Colts. It was awesome. It was such a fun game. I posted it all over my Snap story. I was like, you heard it here first, Cowboys by 28, and then they win by 35. It was cool.
I felt like you won $200. Like you didn't quadruple your money, like quintuple.
No, yeah, because the spread was high anyways. Like the Cowboys were supposed to win by quite a few points, but
I thought, didn't you make like $200 off that?
Yeah, let me just pull up my draft.
Go back and check. Yeah, we need the real stats. We can't be falsifying information on this.
Okay.
I want to say the
Sounds good.
payout was like 250 if I remember correctly.
That's what I thought
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, you
So that's
won
a- that's a-
big balls of the year on that one. That was-
Yeah.
That's big nuts, dude. That's a big payout to 5 times your money on $50. That's big.
I know. Let me go look. Oh God, it's like way back. I bet too much.
Dave, who's your lock?
I really like the Patriots -2.5 versus the Miami Dolphins this week. You know, Tua mashed potatoes brain probably going to be held out the rest of the year, even though they're contenders. He's second or third concussion this year, so I think if they're smart, they'll put Bridgewater in there. And the Patriots are fighting for a playoff spot, so they got something to
Yeah.
fight for. I'll always trust in Bill Belichick. I don't love Mac Jones. I don't even like Mac Jones. So I think that this spread being 2.5, I think the Patriots win by at least 3. So I like the Patriots this week to beat the Dolphins.
Do
And
you
I
think
like
that?
one of my main reasons too, I forgot about this. It's in New England, so Miami has to go up to the cold weather and play at Patriots. So I like the Patriots' advantage there with the home field.
And you think they'll forget the past 2 weeks of pissing it right down their legs?
I think they will. Yeah, I think they're going to move on from that. You know, Bill Belichick
Okay.
can only piss down his leg so much. So
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
eventually he's going to strap it depends on and figure it out.
Yeah. Okay, my lock of the week. I'm gonna take the Vikings +2.5 at the Packers.
It's such bullshit. It's such a bullshit cop
I
out,
hate you
reverse
for doing that.
psychology.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
It's
is.
not.
You're just doing it because it's a win-win for you. It's either,
No.
if I look back, I would say 3/4 of your locks are just the opposite of the Packers because it's a win-win. You win your lock or the Packers win a game. So
No, I rolled with the Browns mid-season, remember, and I got a lot of games right rolling with the Browns. But yeah, so hoping that the Vikings come in and really shit the bed, but I don't think they will. I think they will perform well and they'll squeak out another one by a field goal, just like they have the last 12 games of the season. And I'll
Okay.
go home and cry myself to sleep. And
your last
look
3
forward-
picks have been against the Packers for your
and how
locks.
has it turned out? Just so I can remember.
Yeah, exactly. It's a win-win for you.
They've won all 3. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you're 7-9 on the year for your locks.
Okay, here's the thing, David. If I'm on the Packers side and I pick them as a lock, they're already in the universe. They're not likely to win. That's just a reality. They suck this year. Now, if I add that they're my lock into the universe, the chances of them winning become even more low. So that's why I have to pick the opposite to try to balance it out.
Just admit to our listeners that you're afraid of getting hurt and you're afraid of getting double hurt. So you just do the cop-out move. Amanda, it seems like you had something to say. What'd you say? I'm sorry I cut you off.
Oh no, you're okay. I was just saying I found my bet whenever you guys are ready to hear
Lay
about
it
it.
on
Well,
us.
yeah, let's hear. Tell us.
Okay, so it was December 4th on DraftKings. I picked Dallas Cowboys -25. So I did the alternate spread because it wouldn't let me do -28. I put $50 on it and it paid out $258. And that was with no bonuses or anything.
Damn.
So I just had a feeling.
I just had something enter my mind, Amanda, because you love gambling. Do you think you could send us the last couple episodes here, like Amanda's big bet of the week, and just let us know what you have money on, so our listeners can hear what you've had money on? We'll put it early in the segment.
Yeah.
Would you do
Yeah,
that?
I
Because
could
I know
definitely do
you
that.
make bets every week, right?
Yeah, I make bets every week, but if you're wanting to do, like have somebody that's actually good and wins a lot of money gambling, you should probably look to Taylor Schwebke. I mean, shout out T Schweb. She kicks ass when it comes to football betting. There's actually this app called Pickett. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but
No.
it combines all of your sports betting, like sportsbook apps into one, and it actually shows you how you're doing on your parlays and stuff. So like I'm friends with Taylor on there. So there's a lot of times that I'll even just like copy her bets. I'm like, oh, I was thinking this was a good bet, but Taylor bet it. So like I'm for sure going to be, betting this parlay or whatever is going on, or the odds boosts on DraftKings and FanDuel. But it's really cool. You guys should download the app, Pickett.
I do not want my picks or my betting record anywhere in public information.
That is true. But it's fun when you win and like you win, yeah, with friends. And it's cool to see how you're doing. It'll tell you like on this pick, we picked Austin Eckler to have 54 yards, but he has 49 right now. And, so it shows you like green and red if you're winning or losing.
It's camaraderie, little camaraderie when you're winning. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you should. Would you be down to do that though? I mean, you can get it to us like Tuesday night. We can share it with people, especially with playoffs coming up. We'll be doing some episodes still.
Yeah,
you can,
sounds good. I'll do the big bet of the week.
and then people will know, oh, even if they're watching a game and they have no skin in it, they're like, oh boy, Amanda got fucked here on this one.
Yeah,
They'll smile to
we
themselves.
definitely do that.
And we will definitely love to share Taylor's picks, but she's got to get on the podcast first. That's
true.
That's the qualification. Just before we shut her down, we got to do Dave's college picks, and then Amanda, do you have any for fantasy wise? Do you have any players next year that you think are going to explode that are not really on anyone's radars this year? Or maybe do you need time to think about that?
Oh, God, I would definitely need time to think about that one, John. So I'm going to defer to David Wood on that.
All right, give us the college picks, Dave.
Okay, so if you're listening, if you made it this far in the podcast, I'm going to give you these locks if you fade me here in the college football playoffs. So I am big on TCU plus 7.5 versus Michigan. And this is the one I love even more. Okay, listen up. Are you listening? I love Georgia minus 6.5 versus Ohio State. Okay. So if you want to make some money, go to the bank, take out everything that you have in savings, sell your home, take all that money, go to your bookie, and say, please, sir, give me Michigan minus 7.5 and Ohio State plus 6.5. And you might be a millionaire. So you're welcome for those picks. I told you who I love. You can go ahead and use that information how you'd like. But I'm hoping that I can win some money in the college football playoffs this New Year's season. But
now, are you going to be putting big money, Dave, or are we just talking 10, $15 here?
I put 20 on both.
Nice. I like it.
So that's big. That's big unit size for me. So
that's a big unit. I like it. So you're pretty confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
That so even makes it more. That even makes it more better to fade you.
Yeah. So you're welcome, everybody. For anybody that's still listening, you're welcome for the locks.
I mean, you got any fantasy players or any last minute betting lines you like?
Well, I think I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm going with my lock of the week. So I might throw $20-$50 on the 49ers, like kicking the Raiders ass, dude. I mean, I might do an alternate spread and see what they can do. So I mean, it worked for me before, but I might do.
Quick coming up, the Cowboys minus 9.5 against the Titans. Thursday night game. Got to have Amazon Prime to watch it. You feeling about that?
I think the Cowboys are going to cover.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with the boys as well.
I love that normally people like tease points. So like they'll be like, oh, 7.5. I don't like that spread. I'm gonna tease it down to 1.5. But Amanda's like, you're only giving me 4.5 points. Let's make it 14.5.
Pump it up, dude. I know they're gonna kick ass. So let's go.
I'll put 50 on it too.
Yeah.
It's like the Andre Dow NBA parlay bets.
No, you don't want to take after those.
Oh boy. Okay. Thanks. Hey Amanda, thanks for coming on again. Great week. I'm gonna get the memos out right after this. I'm sorry I forgot this week, but 120 coming your way. Great
Sounds
job.
Good.
Dominant win. I think one of our more dominant performances of the season.
My vote, Amanda, is to put your $120 winnings on the 49ers minus 4.5.
No, I'm gonna do like minus 14, dude.
Yeah, don't put it on -4. Do minus 14.5, minus 17.5, whatever you can get.
Yeah,
we're riding with Big Cock Brock this week. All right, thank you everybody. Thanks for coming on, Amanda. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been Amateur Hour, episode 17. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.